Hey, how's it going, guys? On the right, I've got the all-new 2024 iPlay Mini 60 Pro, and on the left is the iPlay Mini 50 Pro NFE edition. This one came out last year, but I think the NFE version might be a little newer. Both of them can play videos at Full HD 1080p on streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, etc. I think the iPlay Mini 50 Pro, well, the non-NFE edition, was not able to play videos at 1080p on streaming platforms, so that's the biggest difference that I know of, at least in the States. Both of these are very similar here in terms of body size and everything. You'll notice that the rear camera is just a little bit bigger and it has a flash too. Although it mentions it has the same camera, although on like one image I noticed that this one was a little bit better. Actually more than one image. Let me show you. Here's one area where it did a better job on the right than the left. And this might be due to post-processing, actually, more than likely. You see, this one is a little bit sharper on here to read the text. Actually, the text is backwards when I was taking the picture on the Ziploc bag. But yeah, on here, it's more like there's more noise to it. It's a little harder to read. It can still be read, I guess, if you try a little bit harder. But yeah, it just did a better job here overall. Then outside, this storage looked a little bit whiter. And then on here, it was a little more creamy. So the cream color is the correct color, but what's interesting is that this is a little less grainy on here on the right, I want to say, than the left. It's a little more harder to notice this. And then out here, this one looks a little bit more like saturated because it was brighter outside, and this one looks a little bit dull. This might be considered more natural depending on who you are. But yeah, that's why it's a mixed bag. Either way, you can't go wrong. And honestly, there's a lot of similarities between these two. There is one major difference, which is the price point. The iPlay Mini 60 Pro right now is available for $160 on Amazon. And then this one is available for $125 on Amazon. But there is an option to upgrade to more storage, 256 gigabytes, which is what I have here. This one, unfortunately, does not have the option for that. And is it worth the $35 more for the new one? I would say not really, except for one reason, and that's if you're looking for something that lasts a little bit longer. This one has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. I think that's about 1,000 milliamp hours bigger than this. This one here, go into, it says here this is 5,000 milliamp hours. And so 1,000 milliamp hours is actually a noticeable amount. Unfortunately, I haven't tested these out too thoroughly, so I do apologize for that. But I did watch Fishbee Productions, who's a great YouTuber, reviewed both of these, and I'll have a link for those below. He mentioned that he got about 4 hours of on-screen time with the iPlay Mini 50 Pro versus 6 hours on here. So 2 hours is noticeable. 6 hours can last you pretty much the whole day with moderate use. And 4 hours is more like half a day, give or take. So that is a noticeable difference. And the other reason is that this one has two speakers, so one on top, one on the bottom, and that is noticeably better than this one speaker that's just located on the bottom here. This one sounds more tinny. This one's a little bit more immersive, and it doesn't feel too tinny, I think, because it emits from both sides. So there's more of a balance with sound. And that's nice to have when you're watching a video, because you can watch videos at Full HD on here on Netflix, like we mentioned. But one thing that this does not have that the iPlay 50 Pro has is a headphone jack. Now, this is the last gen to have it. It's becoming more and more rare to see these days, and I know some people prefer this over using Bluetooth or USB-C, so to each their own. In terms of the screen itself, on the listings, it might not be so accurate because it mentions on here it's 320 nits versus this one has 350 nits. So that's just a slight bump up if accurate. And honestly, I really don't notice the difference here. Either way, it's not going to matter if you're using this indoors. And outdoors, you can't really see the screen either way. Both of them were hard to see when I was taking a picture outside, or a few pictures. So there's that. I will say, though, this one, it feels a little bit more like whiter. This one has kind of a more nightlight version, and that's not on, by the way, the night mode or nightlight. It's not on, but it still feels that way. Like, so the white colors feel more white on here, and it just feels a little bit more natural. I think I heard someone mention that it feels a little bit washed out. I don't really feel that personally. Even watching videos, I think it's still all right. I haven't really noticed any problems, but either way, you really can't go wrong with one or the other again. And the one downside is that this has the same, these both have the same specs. Now, I know it mentioned that there's 16 gigs of RAM. It mentions on here 16 plus 128, even on here, and that's actually incorrect. And I got to call out ALLDOCUBE for doing this, because this isn't a cardinal sin, but it's something that's my pet peeve. They combine both RAM and VRAM together to make it look like it's greater than it actually is. Now, VRAM does have its use, but I wouldn't put it on the same level as regular RAM, physical RAM. So it's really 8 gigabytes of RAM and 8 gigabytes of VRAM together. So again, both of these have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the specs are pretty similar. So the CPU is a MT8781V/CA on both of them, and the GPU is an ARM Mali G57 MC2. Performance is going to be very similar. They're both good, don't get me wrong, but I'm just disappointed that there's no bump up or real upgrades on this one. It doesn't really justify the $35 in my opinion, unless, and actually I'll get to that more in just a moment, but let me go to the Geekbench scores to show you that they are in fact similar. This is just a smidgen slightly up, and that might be due to this having a newer OS. This is running on Android 14 versus this is on Android 13, and you are going to be stuck with that. I did hear that ALLDOCUBE has one update per product. Like, if you get this one, it can be upgraded to Android 15 eventually, but it has to be done through the PC. Now, I'll have to double check that and verify. That's just what I saw online, and I haven't done that personally. I haven't really cared to do that, but anything I miss out on, by the way, or all this information, I'll post in the description and the comments section, so make sure to check that out below. So anyways, going back to it, again, the single core versus multi-core score is like pretty much negligible. It's just slightly higher here, and you don't really notice that in terms of performance. Games will be played similarly. Same with the GPU score, 1293 here versus 1267 here. I mean, that slight bump might give you 1 or 2 more frames. May or may not be a deal breaker. Actually, I don't think it's really a deal breaker or a big noticeable difference here between the two. So again, that's why it's a little disappointing that they didn't really have too much of an upgrade, except for the battery life being better on here and having 2 speakers for media consumption. I believe personally, if you're at home normally and you're going to be using this, then the iPlay Mini 50 Pro NFE edition is good, because battery life isn't really going to matter if you have a charger nearby, or if you can charge this nearby. But if you are going to be using this more outside of your range, then this one makes more sense. Albeit, whatever comes cheaper, that's what I'd get. And also the storage space, if you want 256 gigabytes of storage and you use wired headphones, then all the more reason to go with this one. So yeah, this would be my first pick, actually, over the iPlay Mini 60 Pro. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And either way, just because I prefer this one, I'm not saying that this is bad. Again, I was just disappointed that it didn't really have that many upgrades. Both of them are great. I love the form factor because it's easy to grip in one hand. And I think this is kind of the standard for tablets around this price range. But let me know what you guys think. And subscribe for more, as I'll be checking out more tablets in the near future. More budget tablets. As always, guys, thanks for watching.